and gentlemen.
Welcome to the show. It's Movie Wire time. Oh, the Movie Wire. Bring the firing squad. Bill, Justin. Give the finger or laugh or smile. It's time to find out. No more waiting. So here we go. The Sultan of Cinema. The gumshoe of review. Here is Justin Henson. Let's start the show. Let's go.
Welcome to the Movie Wire.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Movie Wire. I'm your host, Justin Henson, and welcome to the show. We've got a big show this week with 4 new movies to review, with all 4 playing in theaters right now. And I know I said I was going to be including at least one Best Picture nominee each week, but I'm skipping this week just to play catch up on the new releases in the last couple of weeks. This week on the show, 28 Million Inheritance, 7 Relatives Standing in the Way. Glen Powell stars in How to Make a Killing. Ditched at his wedding, alone in Rome. Kevin James goes on a solo honeymoon in Solo Mio. Matt and Jay go back in time in a time-traveling RV to become famous in Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. And finally, if it's Friends, You're Dead, and their ship has hit the fan in cold storage. We've got a lot to cover this week, so let's jump right in. Ready for my verdict? Let's get into it.
Out of the windows to watch. A roar and a burst of flame. The Movie Wire podcast. You need people like me.
The Wire.
And here we go.
Disowned at birth by his obscenely wealthy family, blue-collar Beckett Redfellow will stop at nothing to reclaim his inheritance, no matter how many relatives stand in his way. Glen Powell stars in How to Make a Killing.
Okay, gun to your head. What would you even do with $1 billion?
Why do you have a gun to my head? Since the day I was born, my mother told me we were different. Yes, she had been disowned by her family, but someday I would become the sole heir. The real estate, planes, an island or two.
Beckett, no way. So are you living in the city now?
Yeah, I do. A little outside of it.
Whatever happened to the Redfellow family fortune?
I'll inherit it. Someday.
Well, call me when you've killed them all.
There were 7 of them. 7 rich pricks. Between myself and $28 billion. If I were to prune a few branches of the family tree.
Wait. Who are you?
I'm Beckett.
2 calls, 2 emails.
Been occupied.
With what?
Occupations.
Been working your way up the financial ladder. Filthy business, though.
Hope this isn't a bad time. We had an agreement.
You don't get out of here until you come clean.
Have you heard about the Redfellows?
What about them?
I wonder who's next. If I were you, I might be nervous. Until then, I'm sure you'll make a killing.
Now, okay, I'm just going to start and get this out of the way. It is no secret that I hate Glen Powell in movies. And if I was going to hell, I'm pretty sure that How to Make a Killing will be my own personal Glen Powell hell, where the only thing I see is a Glen Powell smirk that looks like the Grinch on Botox with an AI filter. For almost 2 hours, an hour and 45 minutes to be exact, I had to listen and I had to watch an altered Glen Powell George Clooney impersonation narration with a mixed match of a Grinch smirk and a Tom Cruise interpretation of body language and performance. It's like watching a copycat impersonator with post-production fixes, but instead of making the movie look better, the budget went to trying to attempt to make Glen Powell look better. But it does the exact opposite. It makes Glen Powell look artificial. Now, I want to say this up front. This isn't a bad movie. It has some entertainment value to it. It's stupid in a lot of different ways, but it's still entertaining. And I also want to state that it's not about Glen Powell. I gave credit to his last movie, The Running Man, but I just don't know who to blame here. Glen Powell or our writer-director John Patton Ford, who adapted this screenplay, and who was in the captain's seat here. All of my gripes surrounding this film isn't about the entertainment value. We have entertainment value here, but rather the pure desperation the movie presents. For director John Patton Ford, this is his biggest film to date, and he has to showcase box office talent in his first big movie, to the point it distracts from the story and payoff. Because any time Glen Powell is on screen, it feels artificially pre-planned and forced. And I am convinced that Glen Powell has to smirk and smile at everything. You can show a puppy getting killed and Glen Powell will just happily smirk at it. Because even when we get a decent cast here, even with the supporting characters, they are colorful in their intended performances, but I'll get into that in just a second. But I have to be fair here. Even though How to Make a Killing has character direction and post-production nightmares, the holistic feeling is a very elementary thriller after a few drinks or a late-night movie of not paying attention. That I think our filmmakers felt they created something more clever than what this movie is. Glen Powell stars as Beckett Redfellow, the heir to a fortune from Grandfather played by Ed Harris, who sworn off his own daughter when she was pregnant with Beckett. Beckett has stayed out of the family even after his mother died, but knew that he is still part of the billions of dollars in his grandfather's will. But he is on the bottom of the list and realizes to come out from poverty, he must get to the top of the survivors list, with killing the remaining members of his family. And with his family never meeting him, he goes on what the movie wants you to believe is a clever killing spree. But in reality, it's just everybody else is stupid. We are met with a supporting cast that the film just treats merely as cameos from familiar faces. In the Redfellow's bloodline, we have Topher Grace and Zach Woods as his cousins that each have their own unique trait. From Topher Grace being a greedy powerhouse church priest to the artistic photographer of The Office's Zach Woods. Each one of the cast is showcased subtly under costumes, hair, and makeup to just give the audience enough to say, oh, I know that guy. And our supporting cast, one after another with their own habits, are forced to make them meet their doom. The movie kicks us off with Beckett in prison on death row, with a gold eye mask that should paint a picture of his success in the main plot, where the priest walks in to give Beckett his last interaction with a person until his death. This is where Beckett spills all the beans in a narrative that sounds like Powell's best impression of George Clooney, to tell the tale of his growth to self-owned success, to murder, to eventually prison. Now, right off the bat, I am not a fan of narrated films to tell a story that are not documentaries, because if you can't tell a story through characters and natural progression, this is where the movie sets the tone of just pure laziness, unless you're going to do something with the narrative. Spoiler alert, the movie does nothing with it. This is strike one with our writer-director John Patton Ford on writing, where the movie can be entertaining, situational entertainment, but when the movie dangles hints or twists, it makes the movie feel like a pop-up book where the answer is there before the words are even spoken. It takes away the engagement of what could have been. Then we get into cutscenes of conversations between Beckett and our priest, but as the movie goes on, we don't see the why. Why are we having this narration other than focusing on a clock that is ticking down to Beckett's death sentence, with our priest sitting saying nothing? These scenes could have been an opportunity for comedy or more in-depth discovery of our Beckett character to really define what this movie is and what it wants us to feel for our main character. But just like every other character, Ford treats this film as a sideshow of talent and characters. Each one feels like a gimmick or a promotional cover photo. Glen Powell. We never get anything other than an appearance of a gimmick and character, then kill. What the film does do right is the cinematography by Tom Banzhazel that has a lot of moments of intrigue, but Ford's lack of post-production skills are up front and center. Even though he has some decent shots in the film, we get sloppiness where the shot is so good he doesn't take a breath to just slow down and allow the viewer to take in the setting, or allow the characters to take in the setting without the feeling we need to rush to get to the next situation. We even have a scene where we see Glen Powell turn from the camera to a door, and I could have sworn that his sideburn on his right side was magically longer than the left, and by the time I noticed it, Powell was avoiding the camera on the right side of his face. This is a movie full of post-production mistakes and holes that will baffle audiences, such as the FBI is investigating this character, but from a famous church to an airfield to an art exhibit, they're not able to spot him on camera. Even more so, another conflict of the movie, we have a character take his apartment keys from his keychain right in front of him, and yet he can still get into his apartment that same night. Beckett realizes his crimes are so flawed, and maybe that's why he gets away with it. But by the time we get to the climax, we realize that even though it runs at a good pace, the pacing is there. It has so many holes. That's enough for a 5-year-old to point out. But one thing, even with the annoying appearance of AI Glen Powell and the plot holes it presents, what the movie does have, again, is entertainment. And it knows how the pacing should go for a movie that wants to showcase one individual talent. And as I just spoke about in the last episode and numerous episodes of the past, it's about the filmmaker's intent. And we can see the intent to purely entertain with brisk pacing. But this movie is so bogged down by showcasing one talent and none of the others with proper balance. Every character shows potential at intrigue, but our focus with our main character is one-dimensional. We don't learn anything about Beckett. We don't care anything about Beckett. We just know he smiles at the camera a lot. How to Make a Killing entertained me in 2 equal parts, pacing and taking notes of all the holes in the plot, and filmmaking that you don't have to be a critic to spot. It's that obvious. But at the end of the day, it's a flawed movie, but it's a fun movie. It's a fun movie in the moment, so I'm going to give How to Make a Killing 2.5 stars.
Fun got Timmy there. Who it kills it doesn't care. Bursting bodies, rabbit deer, and two dins that look 30 in a hurry. Let's it ride. Fight, come on, let's go.
When a highly dangerous fungus escapes from a secret laboratory, a former bioterrorism agent is called back into action. Alongside 2 young employees, he must confront an invisible, out-of-control threat in cold storage.
I don't hear anything.
Well, I definitely heard it. Well, not definitely. I mean, I was like aware of it, you know what I mean? Like I was having an argument with my brain about it.
You are very chatty.
This place was military storage back in the day. You want to open it?
Nope, I'm good.
We're getting a temperature breach alert from a decommissioned facility.
Some of us have encountered this before.
We created a new species.
I don't feel so good.
Jesus Christ!
I gotta get out of here.
This thing is spreading.
Are you kidding me? That's fungus. Will mutate and spread.
That fucking deer just took the fucking elevator.
You two may have started the night minimum wage guards, but you're a green light team now.
That is a nuke. What are you, nuts?
No, I'm ambitious.
That's not natural.
You know, I'm a sucker for movies that, from the trailer, just seem to want to entertain. I love me a good horror comedy. And the moment Liam Neeson comes onto the screen to solidify the fun factor, I was bought in. And as we get to the end of the second act of Cold Storage, I found myself trying to convince myself I was having a good time. But in reality, it was just the same old run, hide, gore film that we have seen before, just with some more satisfying, fun gore scenes. Most of the fun factor comes in 3 parts. The tone that our director, Johnny Campbell, creates that's almost a hybrid of 2001's Evolution, 1994's Outbreak with a dash of Y2K. The second was Liam Neeson, that his mere presence comes across light and we smile as if we are seeing a familiar face or a character in a cameo. But here, it's a bigger role, whose lines seem misguided that I will get into in just a second. And finally, of course, that kind of gore that is so far-fetched, so outlandish that we just kind of laugh along with the screen and the viewers in the audience as it happens, not to take it too serious. Now with a screenplay by David Koepp that adapted this screenplay from his own book from 2019, and of course has written some memorable films such as Jurassic Park, Mission Impossible, The Shadow, Spider-Man, and memorable, for the wrong reasons, is last year's Jurassic Park Rebirth. And even though Koepp has shown talents of telling his kind of story in a lot of his work, especially with 1994's underrated film, The Paper, starring Michael Keaton, our director and writer seem to be on different sides of vision and becomes more prominent with Liam Neeson's character Robert, who is the one the government calls to solve problems. So, pretty much a normal, stereotypical Liam Neeson role. But we get the sense and we can help to just ponder the fact that our Robert character was unbalanced, or the fact that our written character wasn't keeping up with the rest of the cast, especially with our 2 main characters, Stranger Things Joe Carey and Barbarians Georgina Campbell, who play Travis and Naomi, who work in a storage facility. Both of these characters, of course, in a repetitive formula, are meant to contradict each other in personality, but they come across as just linear with some safe dialogue that leaves them to react to situations that the visuals and settings become the only entertaining piece of it. We can tell that these characters are purposely written to be surface level and light to give the entertainment value, but where Koepp's screenplay is confusing, it feels that these 2 are trying to set up a long-running joke and Neeson is going to be the punchline, but the punchline never happens. This is where we can see the performances aren't bad performances, but we can see some confusion of our director Campbell character directing these characters to match his tone. And Koepp's screenplay is going along for the ride, but the 2 are on very different levels. It feels like a script that David Koepp pulled out of storage from his college days and said, "This will at least pay for my next vacation." It shouts teenage Koepp, who thought this would be cool, but ends up being too safe in dialogue. Now, going into Cold Storage, you know what you're going to get from the previews, but at the same time, I think it takes itself at times too seriously. And when you take a movie about 2 kids and unleash a green fungus that inhabits living things and makes these living things grow up to someplace high so their bodies can explode, they can burst, it sounds pretty cool. Envision where cool things are going to happen. Cool concept. Sure, but we merely just get shown cool ideas without cool things that don't feel repetitive. But just like most horror comedy movies that came before it, like Y2K, Zombieland, Tremors, etc., etc., I have no problem with these movies, but this one just kind of feels meh. It always feels like it's missing something. But at the same time, putting it on a rainy day or just to shut my brain off with a drink and enjoy, I can see me doing in the near future. It does the job it needed to do. But in the moment, it's just when I want to shut my brain off, this won't be at top of the list or even at top of mind. But passing it on streaming, I might just hit play. It's just a silly horror comedy movie about fungus that at times makes you want to pause and maybe take a shower. Cold Storage is one of those movies that is mild entertainment but has nothing to make it memorable except the attempt of fun it tries to deliver, where we feel it's always feeling like we could have gotten more, where I wanted to crawl into the screen and give this fucking movie a push. It's a stretch for me to call this a bad movie because it's pure escapism. It does a lot right when it comes to its direction of look, feel, and tone. It's like having McDonald's. You know it's bad for you, but at the same time you go in for another bite. So I'm giving Cold Storage a generous 2.5 stars.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Now, before we get into the rest of the show, make sure to check out my reviews for movies that just became available to rent, buy, or stream now.
Now available on video cassette.
Here is a new faith in a zombie movie with actual depth and humanity that is just as emotional as it is uncomfortable. And 28 years later, The Bone Temple that received 3.5 stars. Defang the Police in a vampire movie that truly does suck. In Night Patrol that received 1 star. Discover what's behind closed doors. And Just Like My Dreams is Sydney Sweeney in an actual good movie. In The Housemaid that received 3 stars. Volunteers needed in another zombie apocalypse movie that actually attempts a message and is marginally successful in We Bury the Dead that got a marginal recommendation at 3 stars. Have you been exposed in a movie that not only was a big snub for the Oscars, but this year don't be surprised if you see it on my best list in a movie that tackles adolescent social commentary, in The Plague that received 3.5 stars. It's not the size of the snake that matters, it's how long it plans to play with you, in which it spends the entire time playing with you thinking it's a good movie, in Anaconda that received 1 star. They're back with a twist, and the biggest twist is that it surpasses the original film in Zootopia 2 that received 3.5 stars. A story about the people you love and how to survive them in a movie that was so bland and misguided I forgot I even reviewed it in Ella McKay that received 1.5 stars. This Christmas, you better be good or Santa's gonna slay in Silent Night, Deadly Night that appeases the gore lover with adding some nice character touches that received 3 stars. Something's wrong with Ben, he's dangerously close to human in Primate that is primitive in logic, but who cares, it's a lot of fun that received 3 stars. 5 years ago the world ended and that was just the beginning, and this sequel feels like the beginning that nobody cares about. It's rare for the end of the world to just feel boring in Greenland 2 that received 2 stars. Brendan Fraser plays a washed-up actor who is hired to play a father to a little girl. And one of the best movies of the year is Rental Family that is true cinematic soul food receiving 4 stars. Are you ready for another SpongeBob movie? You should be, for the SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants. That surprised me with the amount of heart a SpongeBob movie can have to receive 3 stars. Inspired by a legend, bound by a dream. Our filmmakers may have had a dream, but it definitely didn't inspire in Song Sung Blue that received 2 stars. First Hunt, Last Chance, and Predator Badlands, which was a fun addition to the lore without showing us all the cards. Quite Yet receiving 3 stars. But for the love of God, no more PG-13 Predator movies. An epic World War II thriller based on true events in Nuremberg with Russell Crowe and Rami Malek stealing the show to receive 3 stars. Anyone can survive 5 nights. This time there will be no second chances, and hopefully this doesn't get a third chance in 5 Nights at Freddy's 2 that received 1.5 stars. You can only choose one in eternity. That is a true journey of self-reflection and takes the viewer on the journey with it, receiving 3.5 stars. And finally, survive 30 days while the world hunts you down in the remake to the 1987 film The Running Man that really didn't make me run away, receiving 3 stars. And I still fucking hate Glen Powell. You can check out those reviews on my previous episodes, and while you do, don't forget to hit follow or subscribe, and please don't forget to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Now, before we get into the last set of reviews, there is a podcast that's one of my absolute go-tos, and that's with my friend Dan over at the Gaming News Podcast. Make sure to check out Dan from head to toe, and then check out his podcast. The link to his show will be in the description of this episode, but let's hear from Dan over the Gaming News Podcast now.
Welcome to the trailer for Gaming Views. Think of it as the demo level before the real action kicks off.
We're Dan, and every week we're bringing hot takes, breaking news, deep dives, and everything gaming related.
From the biggest headlines to retro classics, hardware breakdowns, and inside scoops on developers, we cover it all.
So level up your gaming knowledge, subscribe to Gaming Views wherever you get your podcasts, and don't miss out.
When they're planning to book a show at Rivoli goes horribly wrong, Matt and Jay accidentally travel back to the year 2008 in Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie.
Watch out, watch out!
What's going on here?
It's just, well, this is actually kind of hard to explain.
Time machine plan. This is going to be the last plan you and I ever have to do. And as far as I'm concerned, Nirvana the band is playing the Rivoli tonight. We have the RV, deck it out like the DeLorean. Ah! So it's a full-time machine. Okay, watch this. Hold on to your butts. The time machine worked, and we are in 2008.
Oh my God. Matt, it's 2008.
I told you! Real goths. We are trapped. How can we use this to get a show at the Rivoli?
No, that's secondary now.
This could have insane ramifications.
Oh, Richard. You really f***ed us up.
I did not do anything. I see. You're like, work's done for the day. We've done too much. It's time to play. I'm like Teen Wolf. A little bit, right? No! Come check us out at the Rivoli later.
Do you have a show at the Rivoli?
We could be playing any day. Right off the bat, they're going to ask for an encore.
Hold on for now.
No! Ladies and gentlemen, you're probably wondering who we are. We are Nirvana the band. If you're watching this in theaters, thank your lucky stars.
Not to be mistaken for an actual movie about Nirvana, but the series Nirvana, the band, the show about Matt and Jay, played by Matt Johnson and Jay McCarroll, who try to live their dreams by playing a concert at the Toronto's Rivoli venue. Based on the series that follows kind of the same tropes I got from the synopsis, follows the same tropes, but with time travel. So if you're gonna make a movie based on the show with the same concept, I guess adding a time travel idea to make the theme seem bigger than what it is either very stupid or extremely genius, because we can tell that our filmmakers want to keep the charm of our characters and just put in the biggest, dumbest idea yet. And somehow it works. Now, I have never seen an episode of the show, and I knew nothing about these guys going into the movie. Actually, I didn't even know this was a show until after the movie. Knowing about or seeing the show isn't necessary to follow the story, but this is one of those movies that not everybody will find funny, especially if you're new to these two guys. It almost teeters to a film for fans to newcomers, since I counted 4 people in a pretty full theater that did walk out. It's a reality show. It's a reality movie about a middle-aged Beavis and Butthead without the vulgarity and just a tad more brain cells, and at times with just as many brain cells as Beavis and Butthead. Matt is the planner that creates these wild plans to get them famous, and Jay is the subtle reasoning one that cradles the main talent and knows the plans are dumb, but merely follows Matt due to them being best friends for years. And in this case, to this plot and the success of this movie is turning their RV into a Back to the Future ripoff by installing a flux capacitor in their RV that will time travel by hitting 88 miles per hour. But the only hiccup here is the only way it works is with the 90s drink Orbits. Now, for those of you not old or grew up in the 90s, if you don't remember the Orbits drink, it's a lava lamp texture drink that had gelatin balls that only lasted a couple of years on the market, and it failed miserably. And how they use this to time travel isn't as intelligent as you would think. But I will leave that alone for you to discover, which adds part to the conflict later, since an Orbis drink from the 90s isn't easy to find. And that also adds to the complete stupidity of the movie, but it's on purpose, and I'll give it that. It gets a pass on that because it is pretty clever and nostalgic. Now, part of the charm we get from Nirvana is the fact we bought into these two guys. We see each plan they come up with to try to get famous, and most of it is completely idiotic. But the energy and likability we get from Ad trying to sell Jay the plan, and in this case, us as well as an audience, is so passionate we can see how moronic it is, such as base jumping into a baseball stadium or running power cables from the CN Tower through the city of Toronto. These are moronic ideas. This is so stupid, but I don't care, and neither did the people in the film watching them do it. So why should I judge it? Part of the fun was most people treated these two guys' actions like it was just another day. This buddy movie is driven by our two guys, and I can tell the show must be successful in the 30-minute episodes, but here the film runs a little too long to really keep our attention. It has a strong first act, a good climax, but the middle really stretches the uninteresting parts when it's just Matt and Jay planning a plan on top of another plan, or the movie rushes itself into really interesting points, including an altered future that seemed could have been a majority of the movie and could have just been as impactful if our writer strategically surrounded itself with that plot point. Again, I said in the beginning, I never watched the show. I guess if we were to look at the success of the movie, did it tempt me to watch the show? The answer is no. It didn't really entice me to see it because the movie proves I've probably seen everything. If this is what the show's about, I can almost see the repetitiveness displayed on a big screen. They didn't really change anything. The movie makes it clear, and the trailers of the show versus the movie make it clear that there's no real difference. There's no enticing me to watch the show because this is just a big screen version of that. But I didn't regret my viewing. I think at the storyboard meeting, some shots needed to be taken off and reworked. But that's part of the fun of having a film that just feels like it has no script and it's improv. Now, improv films or improv shows or improv anything is a hit or miss. And we get that feeling here where not everything works. But that's also where the editing could have come into play of what works and what doesn't when it comes to the moments of humor. This could have been condensed into something that's just joke over joke over joke that really did crowd please. Nirvana the band, the show, the movie is going to be an acquired taste in comedy, and those not familiar with the show like I was, it will really come down to your tolerance with our two main characters, along with being familiar with a reality shot comedy, or if you're a fan of the show. If you don't find charm about our two main characters, you will be finding yourself walking out before the midway point, where the movie starts to drag a little. We feel we're just repeating humor, we're just repeating points we have already seen. But open and honest for me, I may have not have laughed at even half the jokes, but Jay and Matt made me curious on what they were going to do next, and at least brought a smile to my face throughout the runtime. We can tell it's a movie made not just for fans, but the fans are at focal point here, but anybody can walk in and not just get lost, but rather get lost in our middle-aged dreamers. I'm giving Nirvana the band, the show, the movie 3 stars. Left heartbroken in Rome after a wedding disaster, a stranded groom finds his ruined honeymoon transformed by a determined local and a few meddling travelers, proving that sometimes heartbreak is only the beginning. Kevin James stars in Dolomio.
Buonasera, signore. Hey, I'm just gonna need to move some things around with my reservation. Is there something wrong? Look, I think we both know things didn't go too well today. What's going on?
She was just here, and then she wasn't.
If I was in your position, I would enjoy the package myself. Go on my honeymoon. Honeymoon, vacation. Call it what you want.
Sometimes gravity comes so fast, I don't know where I'm falling to.
Is the seat taken?
Sorry, do I know you?
You on that honeymoon package?
Yes.
Where's your two?
That's personal.
Oh, it's a no-show. Hey, Scoozy, big tuna. He's gonna need that. Got left at the altar.
No, I never said that.
I'm Claudia. I like your hair.
That's not gonna help him. He needs to heal.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
What's that supposed to mean?
You know what it means.
What's your name?
Matt, and you are Cafe del Sole.
Gia.
No, I know. I was just trying to be funny.
Okay, I keep trying.
Hey, I think that was Matthew. Who's on the back?
Coffee lady.
Go, Matty, go!
Maddie, it's time that you accept it.
She's the only woman I ever loved. But I can't start over again.
You have to try. Don't be afraid.
Did you kiss her?
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, like this. It's not hard. Don't be weird.
I'm going to a concert. I got an extra ticket. You want to go?
Yes.
Line him up, buddy.
What do you think?
It's beautiful. I have to come back sometime.
Don't leave. Stay.
What's with the Ed Sheeran t-shirt?
I like his music.
He's allowed to like what he likes. Almost 60.
You're an old man with an earring.
He made a choice.
Like what a pirate would make or somebody's grandma.
Kevin James in previous movies has either been a goof, stereotype character because of his weight, and numerous times we almost have sympathy for him that movies push heavily into this. An overweight character that is clumsy or socially awkward. The underdog overweight character we want to root for. Now, Kevin James dabbled into trying to change this persona in 2020's Becky, where I think Joel McHale and Kevin James had the same idea, to play a different type of role. Kevin James played a villain and Joel McHale played a non-comical role. These two roles tried to change the perspective of their range. Even though a valid attempt with some decent performances, it was hard to digest it without baby steps or phenomenal performance from James to truly believe that he can be a villain. When I watch Becky, all I can envision is Paul Blart, and that is one of his most enticing roles that really brought us into who Kevin James is. Somebody that we want to root for. What Kevin James needed, again, is baby steps into changing his persona. With Solo Mio, this is where the baby steps happen, where we see James without a gimmick, without falling down, without leaning on physical or goofy humor. We get real human reactions. I think part of the secret sauce here is the fact that James helped write the script alongside John Keenan and Patrick Keenan, which, by the way, the script is far from perfect. But for James to step out of a typecast, this is the film that he needed. Solo Mio is a rom-com written by dudes that becomes obvious within the first act that we are thrown into conflict right away, where Matt, played by James, is left at the altar in Rome. Now, given that our characters are teachers, they must have been very smart with their money to afford a wedding in Rome, with a complete honeymoon package. But that's never explained. But that's okay, because it's a rom-com, and who am I to judge the character's finances? It becomes obvious that we get every copy and pasted character from every single rom-com, from the hotel concierge that acts as emotional support to hope for the best for Matt. That sole intent is to be the cheerleader and random insertions of 1 to 2 lines here and there, to the best friends that support Matt as well, and in this case, rushed best friends to encourage him, which are 2 married guys that are staying next door to Matt in a hotel, Julian and Neil, played by Kim Coates and Jonathan Rumi. To the out-of-the-league attraction here is Gia, played by Nicole Gramato. Now, the male relationships here, it's hard to resist the sweetness of the performances, even though the dialogue is mere surface-level boy banter. Neil is married to his therapist, Donna, played by Julie Serta, that we debate or joke throughout the movie if it's illegal or not to date a patient, along with a relationship that seems too good to be true. And of course, the arguing couple, Julian, who is married to Megan, played by American Pie actress Allison Hannigan, who have been married over 3 different times, that we see argue throughout the movie. Both of these friends have contrasting relationships that seem too good to be true to be placed next to Matt in the same hotel hallway, and just merely inserted there to prove a relationship message from Matt. But again, that's okay. It's a rom-com written by dudes. It's hard not to smile at the attempt of what Solo Mio is trying to do, because honestly, it's a very sweet movie. It's a dumb sweet movie. It has its heart in the right place, but it's deeply flawed when it comes to being overly predictable and cliche, where we all know what's gonna happen by the time the credits roll. But you know what? This is where we have to look at the material and the filmmaker's intent. Does it make us smile? Yes. Does it make us feel good? Yeah, I guess. Where it misses the mark is a mere fact. It misses on landing an emotional impact that spends a lot of time trying to imply. We have a scene that on the surface is a very cute male bonding scene where we have Julia, Neil, and Matt on each of their balconies of a hotel, and Matt is still grieving. He's coming to a reflection of what happened on his wedding night. They're all out on their balcony after hearing about an encounter he had with Gia, where they all in unison come out from the balcony and say, "We'll be in your room in a second." They all end up in Matt's hotel room. This moment is very feel good in its intent and made me smile. But this is where the dialogue fails. It takes a special moment that could have been the forte of the film, an emotional realization and a chemistry arc for the trio of boys, but just treats it as surface level. And this is a holistic message. This is the main problem with Solo Mio. It has some repetitive and cliche ideas, but the performances are good enough where we could tell with the proper material, this could have been a game changer. It teeters at okay, feel good / forgettable to memorable at what it could have been. This is a movie cake full of cheerleaders for Matt that it almost needed more in-depth dialogue to make it feel earned, and not just a cliche rom-com. We even have Gia's ex, who owns the coffee shop she works at, come in and cheer Gia and Matt on during the climax, where during the movie is treated as a mere subtle conflict. We have moments like this where we just get too subtle, where we don't get that full emotional push. It's merely just surface level cliches. We have a lot of wheels turning in Solo Mio where the ingredients just don't pay off in the end and feel earned. I literally wanted to jump through the screen and start pushing these characters and speak on their behalf. But Solo Mio banks heavily on Kevin James' performance, which is almost believable, but lacks the emotional impact. When we get a scene where it should have been an emotional punch to the gut towards the climax, where Matt is singing the opera Turandot, which is an emotionally charged opera song, and we can see everybody in the room's reaction, but it almost holds us back from the natural tears that should come from this song naturally, because the execution of this scene is distracting. It takes away from the song. We are focused on Matt. We're focused on the reaction of the characters who aren't really believable in their emotional reactions. Our directors Charles Kinning and Daniel Kinning missed the most simplistic execution of ensuring that this is the last chance to land an emotional impact to make the film feel relevant, where we see James awkwardly lip sync the song and everyone is cheering him on. This is where the material also lacks. Well, also the vision of our directors as well. This is the arc where the audience should see Matt's revelation of emotion of his feelings. This is where it should be the main impact, to say everything that's happened to this point is worthwhile. It doesn't come with this scene. When it comes to a rom-com, you need to have that emotional scene that says, this is what everything has led up to. This is going to push some tears towards you, and it never comes. Where instead of a revelation, we still have lingering questions of how Matt feels between being left at the altar and his current attraction. It's clear in a rom-com that we can assume from cliches, but this isn't clear with this tale on what it's trying to tell us. Solo Mio, even with its overused cliche characters, situations, plot points, and ending, even though my rant, I gotta say, it still made me smile. But every time the movie tried to be emotional, it felt like it was written by manly men that rolled up their sleeves every day and fear emotion. And every moment it tries to be emotional, it holds itself back from the emotion that truly should be treated as something traumatizing. It hovers over the pure topic that should be driving the story and almost ignores the point of why the movie's story was made, to just insert situational pieces. Solo Mio might as well have been a Hallmark movie, but at the same time, the likability of the characters save it. The performances save it. It made me smile. I'm being way too hard on this movie. It's an innocent movie. It's a sweet movie. It's one that you'll put on a rainy day. It's one that many babies will be made during Valentine's Day. So I gotta give it a soft pass, but not a recommendation. So I'm gonna give it a near miss at 2.5 stars. And that's a cut on this week's edition of The Movie Wire. I want to thank you for listening and thank you for your support. You can also show support by following me on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, Thread, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Letterboxd at Movie Wire Show. And please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you haven't yet checked out the Cult-Worthy Cinema Podcast and the Movie Wire's crossover show, Back to the Balcony. Make sure you do. Again, the link of that show will be in the description of this episode. Until next week, do me a favor. Make sure you stay for after the credits to show the respect to those that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making a feature film and support your local movie theaters.
Thank you for bringing me to the movies.
Let the credits roll. We say farewell. Join us next time. We'll have more tales to tell.